A nationwide blackout. It's a scenario that sends chills down your spine, isn't it? Imagine all the lights out, all the power gone, and all the noise replaced by an eerie silence. It's not just the darkness that's frightening, but the cascade of consequences that follow. This isn't a minor inconvenience, it's a potential catastrophe that could disrupt every facet of modern life. The first thing to understand is that a nationwide blackout is about more than just losing your lights. When the power grid goes down, water treatment plants stop functioning, which means your tap might run dry, or worse, start pumping out contaminated water. Imagine not being able to wash your hands, flush your toilet, or quench your thirst. But the risks don't stop at the tap. Communication networks also rely on power. Cell towers have backup generators, but these only last for so long. As the blackout drags on, your smartphone could become nothing more than a fancy paperweight. In our interconnected world, being cut off from information and emergency services could be just as dangerous as having no water. Transportation, too, grinds to a halt in a blackout. Gas stations can't pump fuel without electricity, and traffic lights stop working, leading to chaos on the roads. Even the food supply chain is at risk. Without refrigeration, food spoils quickly, and grocery stores may close their doors. And let's not forget about money. ATMs and card transactions need power, so accessing your funds could become a major challenge. In a prolonged blackout, cash is king. Last but not least, emergency services already stretched thin could be pushed to the brink in a nationwide blackout. Firefighters, police officers, and paramedics all rely on power to do their jobs. When the lights go out, their jobs become exponentially harder. A nationwide blackout isn't just about sitting in the dark, it's about surviving in a world that's been thrown into chaos. In the next scenes, we'll dive into the immediate actions you can take to protect yourself and your loved ones, securing food and water, finding alternative energy sources, communication strategies, long-term survival planning, and defense tactics. Stay tuned. The first few hours of a blackout are critical. Here are the immediate steps you need to take to ensure your survival. First and foremost, shut off your main power breaker. This is crucial to protect your appliances from potential surges when the power comes back on. It's a simple action that can save you from significant damage and expense down the line. Next up, let's talk about insulation. In a blackout, your home's heating or cooling systems won't work. To keep the temperature inside your home stable, you need to insulate it properly. If it's winter, trap the heat by closing all windows and doors, and cover them with heavy curtains or blankets. In the summer, keep your home cool by opening windows at night and closing them during the day. Water is a vital resource that can quickly run out during a blackout. You need to start rationing your existing water supply immediately. Remember, you not only need water for drinking but also for hygiene and cooking. Prioritize drinking and food preparation. For hygiene, consider using wipes or sanitizers. Now let's move to securing your home. In a blackout, security systems and streetlights are down, making homes more susceptible to break-ins. Start by ensuring all doors and windows are locked. If you have a manual garage, make sure it's locked too. In the absence of electric lighting, use flashlights or battery-operated lanterns. Avoid candles if possible, as they pose a fire hazard. Finally, gather your family and discuss the situation. Make sure everyone understands the seriousness of the situation and the importance of conserving resources. Assign roles and responsibilities to each family member, like who's in charge of water rationing or who's on security duty. These are the first steps, the immediate actions you need to take, but surviving a nationwide blackout requires more than just quick thinking. With stores closed and ATMs offline, you need to survive on what you have. Here's how to make your food and water last. When the power's out, water purification becomes a priority. Tap water may not be safe to drink, and bottled water supplies can deplete quickly. You can purify water using simple household items. Bleach, for instance, can make water safe to drink. Just a few drops in a gallon of water, let it sit for half an hour, and it's ready for consumption. Iodine tablets and boiling water are also effective methods for purification. But remember, only use these methods when you're unsure of the water's safety. If you have a supply of bottled water, use that first. It's essential to ration water, so make every drop count. Now let's talk food. When the power's off, refrigeration is out of the equation. So, you need to focus on non-perishable food items. Canned goods, dry mixes, and other staples that don't require refrigeration should be your go-to. But having the food isn't enough, you need to make it last. The trick is to rotate your stock. Use the oldest items first and save the newer ones for later. This way, you ensure your food supply remains fresh and safe to eat. If you have a garden, use it. Fresh fruits and vegetables can supplement your pantry supplies. And remember, rationing is key. Plan your meals, avoid waste, and stretch your supplies as far as they can go. In times of darkness, we must adapt and overcome. We might not be able to control when the power comes back on, but we can control how we respond. With a stocked pantry, purified water, and a well-laid plan, we can weather the storm. So, take a good look at your kitchen. Is it prepared to sustain you in a prolonged blackout? If not, take these tips and start preparing today. Remember, in a blackout, your kitchen becomes your lifeline. Make sure it's well stocked and well managed. The grid is down, but that doesn't mean you're out of options. Let's explore alternative energy sources. When the lights go out, having a plan B for power is crucial. So, what are your options? First, let's talk about solar power. Solar panels harness the energy of the sun and convert it into usable electricity. They're a clean, renewable source of power that, once set up, requires minimal maintenance. And the best part? The sun isn't going anywhere, even if the grid does. Solar power can charge your devices, power your lights, and even run your refrigerator. Next up, portable generators. These workhorses can provide a significant amount of power when you need it most. They run on fuel, so you'll need to store some in a safe place. Remember, safety first when it comes to storing and using flammable liquids. A well-maintained generator can be a lifeline during a blackout, powering everything from your heating system to your kitchen appliances. Now, let's not forget about batteries. While they might not power your entire home, batteries are essential for keeping smaller devices running. Think flashlights, radios, and cell phones. Investing in rechargeable batteries and a solar charger can keep you connected and informed even when the grid is down. Then there's the humble hand crank radio. This little gadget is an all-star in a blackout. Not only can it keep you updated on the latest news, but it can also charge your devices and even provide a little light, and all it needs to work is a bit of elbow grease. These are just a few of the alternative energy sources you can tap into during a nationwide blackout. Each one has its pros and cons, and what works best for you will depend on your specific situation and needs. But one thing is clear, being reliant solely on the grid is a risk you can't afford to take. Alternative energy sources are your best bet in a blackout. Invest in them now, and you'll be thankful later. Communication is key in any crisis. Without power, you'll need to get creative. Our modern world relies heavily on digital communication, smartphones, social media, email, you name it. But in the event of a nationwide blackout, these conveniences vanish. So, what's the solution? Enter the humble emergency radio. This device, often overlooked, becomes a lifeline in a power outage. It allows you to receive critical updates from authorities and weather services. Many models also feature hand cranks or solar panels, meaning you're not dependent on batteries. Remember to tune into local AM, FM, or shortwave radio stations for news and updates. But what if you need to reach out, not just listen in? That's where satellite phones come into play. Unlike cell phones, which rely on local towers, satellite phones connect directly to satellites orbiting Earth. They're not affected by power outages on the ground, allowing you to make calls even when the grid is down. Sure, they're pricier than your average smartphone, but in a crisis, the ability to call for help or check on loved ones is priceless. Now, let's talk about signaling. When all else fails, old-school techniques can save the day. 3 of anything, be it flashes of light, whistle blows, or fires, universal distress signals understood around the world. If you're in a remote location, use a mirror to reflect sunlight and attract attention. Smoke signals can also be effective if you're in a dense forest or mountainous area. In summary, communication during a blackout requires adaptability and resourcefulness. You'll need to ditch the digital and embrace the analog. From the trusty emergency radio to the high-tech satellite phone, to the time-honored art of signaling, each method has its place in your communication strategy. Staying connected in a blackout is challenging, but with the right tools and knowledge, you can keep the lines of communication open. A prolonged blackout isn't just a temporary inconvenience. It could last weeks or months. You need a long-term survival plan. In the face of a nationwide blackout, the reality is that you may need to become self-sufficient for an extended period. This means planning and preparing for the long haul. It's not about surviving today or tomorrow, but for weeks, perhaps even months. The first step is to create a comprehensive survival plan. This isn't just a list of supplies to gather, it's a roadmap for survival. Consider every aspect of your daily life, from food and water to hygiene and health. What will you do when your stockpiles run low? How will you maintain cleanliness and sanitation? Where will you go if your home becomes unsafe? These are the questions your survival plan needs to address. Now let's talk about food. In a prolonged blackout, grocery stores will be empty and you'll need to rely on your own ability to produce food. Consider starting a home garden, even if it's just a simple window box. Cultivating crops such as potatoes, beans, and tomatoes can provide essential nutrients and a sustainable food source. Remember, farming doesn't happen overnight, so start learning and practicing these skills now. Water is another critical element. Setting up a rainwater collection system can be a lifesaver. You can use tarps or large containers to collect rainwater, which can then be purified for drinking or used for sanitation purposes. Engaging with your neighbors and forming a community survival plan is also essential. In times of crisis, there's strength in numbers. Pool resources, share skills, and work together to create a safer, more secure environment for everyone. Finally, don't forget to regularly review and update your survival plan. As you learn new skills or acquire new resources, adjust your plan accordingly. In a prolonged blackout, your survival depends on your planning. Make sure you're prepared for the long haul. In times of chaos, your home could become a target. Here's how to protect your family and your resources. When the lights go out nationwide, the world as we know it changes. In the darkness, security challenges escalate, and protecting your loved ones and resources becomes paramount. The first line of defense is your home. Whether it's an apartment in the city or a secluded farmhouse, there are steps you can take to fortify it against potential threats. Reinforce doors and windows, create safe rooms, and establish a surveillance system. Even something as simple as having blackout curtains can protect your privacy and prevent others from seeing what resources you may have. But fortifying your home isn't just about physical barriers, it's also about being vigilant. Keep a watchful eye on the surroundings, be wary of strangers, and avoid drawing unnecessary attention to your home. Remember, the less people know about your resources, the safer you are. Next, let's talk about self-defense. It's not something we like to think about, but in times of crisis, it's necessary. Understand the basics of self-defense, whether that's learning hand-to-hand combat, knowing how to use a pepper spray, or becoming proficient with a firearm. Every person in your household should have some knowledge of self-defense techniques. Now let's discuss resource protection. Food, water, and energy supplies are precious commodities during a blackout. Keep your stockpile secure and hidden. Rotate your supplies to prevent spoilage and always keep an inventory so you know exactly what you have. Lastly, remember that there's strength in numbers. If possible, form alliances with trusted neighbors or local community members. Having others to rely on can provide additional security and shared resources. Your home is your fortress. In a blackout, make sure it's well defended.